Welcome to the Revel Digital Agency podcast, a show dedicated to helping lawyers and law firms thrive in the online space. Whether your firm is a major player in the national market or just getting started, keep listening to learn about the latest digital marketing trends and tools to help you engage with the best clients using targeted and responsive online marketing strategies. And now here's your host, the founder and CEO of Revel Digital Agency, Widley Vil.
Hello and welcome to the Revel Digital Agency podcast. My name is Widley Vil, owner of Revel Digital Agency, where our goal is to help you deliver digital solutions that unleash your business potential and expand your client base. This episode is going to be very special because we have a guest on today. Today I'll be talking about Sandler Francois and his journey about running a legal business from his word of mouth to transforming the digital presence through the website creation and working with us here at Revel. And here's my guest, Sandler Francois.
Hey, how's it going?
Great, Sandler. Thank you for joining me for today.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. It's an exciting experience. I'm really excited about everything you're doing and all the people that you're serving. So it's a great pleasure to play a part of it.
All right. And Sandler worked as a senior law clerk in a highly reputable law firm in Midtown.
That's right. Before
launching his own business, Premier Life Solution, for about, 10 years now, Sandler?
Actually going on 13, I'm glad to say. 13 years on paper. I had 2 experimental years just figuring things out before that. So 15 years.
That sounds like a great journey. So let's talk about how was your experience in working at a high law firm in the city?
Intense, exciting, intense. You learn a lot. The world of law definitely is a world unlike any other, whereas you have to be able to not only negotiate between yourselves and clients, but negotiate between yourselves and, in my case, 10 attorneys. So juggling 10 attorneys and being between them and the clients and playing that go-between is really interesting.
And I mean, it seems like that legal field is always in demand, that people are always doing, lawyers, paralegals, even, receptionists, everybody seems like they're working hard if the firm is busy, right?
Yeah, if you're going to really satisfy the client, then it's more than just winning the case. It's a lot more than what you see on TV. It's what you see on TV, but then it's the boring parts, the behind-the-scene parts that make the big difference in the outcome in terms of client satisfaction. And in my role as a senior paralegal at the time, it's my job to make the attorneys look good. No different than, the nurse makes the doctor look good. It was my job to make the attorneys look good, and that makes their job easier to perform successfully for the clients.
All right. So what made you leave the law firm and start Premier Life Solutions?
Great question. A new birth. My wife at the time and I were having our first child, and I had left the law firm because when it boiled down to it, I needed to spend more time at home. And on the side, I had a recording studio because, believe it or not, in a former life, I thought I was going to be a superstar rapper. Regardless of what you may think now, I thought I was going to be something big in the music field. And it kept me close to home because I had a home recording studio that was thriving. Long story short, it didn't do so well as I had wanted to. None of my music ever really materialized. But what did happen was a lot of my clients, when they saw I was slowing down with the studio, they would say to me, "Hey, didn't you work at a law firm? We used to see you run in and have a suit on, then you would change and put your hoodie and your jeans on and what have you." And I said, "Yeah." And they started asking me to negotiate contracts and read agreements for them. So that was the very beginning of me realizing that all of the things that I had learned at the law firm, I was able to take out and transfer and start my own operation.
It seems like a lot of businesses start out that way, helping out friends and family. And then all of a sudden you're like, I could do something with this, right?
Really true. I think your family is always the best testing ground for everything. Your family is the best representation of society in a whole. Whereas unlike society, when you go out there into the cold world, there's consequences you have to face for your actions. But your family being the loving, nurturing environment, I would hope for most of the people listening, is your best testing ground. So when it comes to a business, yes, your family and your closest friends tend to be your best customers.
All right. So after families and friends, how are you able to get other clients for Premier?
Well, I was broke. So what I had to decide to do was the most basic thing. The first thing I did was actually a compliment. My wife at the time, she purchased business cards for me as a gift. I believe it was for my birthday. And that was my first form of advertisement. And with only business cards in hand, I would go around giving them out to everyone. So a real hand-to-hand, everyone that I knew at church, everyone I knew in the neighborhood. People ask me, what am I up to? When they ask me about how's the studio, I would say, oh, the studio's okay. Or at the end point, I'll say, the studio's not up in operations anymore, but look what I'm doing now. So that, and what came quickly behind that, because 500 business cards being given out every day would only last so long. So I'd say about after a month, I had to reduce down to the most common form of advertisement, flyers, and putting up flyers everywhere I could. I used what little money I had left, and I had very little, very, very little, to print up about 500, maybe 1,000 flyers, and I put them up. And, and thank God, the phone rang enough times where I was able to not pay my rent, but print more flyers. and through the printing of more flyers and putting them up and being diligent, I was able to start to get a little, get warmed up and see that this is really something I could do.
I think that's an amazing story, to be honest with you. This is why, people go into business. Now, after putting up the flyers and you said the phone was able to ring enough times, how were you able to consistently get clients?
Word of mouth, great service. As you know, word of mouth will always be the lead marketing tool. So what we need to do is attach other tools or other instruments to make that tool function even better, right? So what I did was gave great customer service. I made sure I kept my word, kept appointments. I was very diligent about making phone calls and little things also, not only speaking to the client about the work at hand, but the kind of work that we all do as legal professionals and as practitioners in the people business. What we all do is we get to know intimate things about our clients. So if I knew your birthday, I would make a side note about it. And when your birthday came up, I'd give you a call. If I heard your child's birthday was coming up, I'd call you. And just imagine someone you're doing business with just calling you at random and saying, hey, how's little Joey's birthday? I'll tell them I said happy birthday. So little things. I created more of a personal connection with the client. And that led to word of mouth getting stronger and giving me more business. But like anything else, there comes a glass ceiling.
And why do you think the word of mouth marketing was for you successful for so long?
Great question. I think it was because I didn't have any choice, and when you don't have any choice, the choice I had was to persist with what I was doing or stop, so in where I come from, there is no choice. There is no plan B, so with that being said, I kept at it, shaking hands and kissing babies. And I think most people that are in this particular field understand that being liked is important. People have to like you before they even care about what you do and how you can help them.
All right. That is definitely true. Now, how do you think word of mouth has changed over the years, especially during the pandemic?
Great. I'll tell you what I can say firsthand. I think word of mouth has become something where it's less word of mouth, but more word of text, word of email, a lot of times word of click here to share a video. Or, because that's what tends to happen these days, advancing to now and these days and times. What I noticed was great was by way of my little content creation. I had a couple videos on YouTube, and I had a small email list going on that I didn't really know how to utilize very well, but I saw enough evidence that it worked because now the phones would ring and someone would say, oh, someone shared a video on YouTube. And these were videos that were very rough around the edges. I'm stuttering. I'm not sure what I'm doing. I'm looking all over the place, but those videos existing led to people being willing to give me a shot.
And Sandler, how did you hear about digital marketing in the first place?
Oh, boy. So here I am staring at the internet like everyone else. And I started wondering how these ads would show up. I was wondering, instead of just being a consumer looking at banners, I started wondering, why can't I have a banner? And I also started wondering, how are these other people, I open up my emails and I get all these emails that were so fascinating. Now, fast forward, we call it junk mail, right? But in the beginning, I was wondering, how were all these people finding me? So I guess my natural sense of curiosity led me from being a consumer of it to wanting to be the person that's offering it out to the public. So that led me to doing a little bit of research, and I started discovering all of the videos and, more importantly, the seminars where you go out and you would hear someone talk about how to set up your own banner, how to set up your own email marketing campaign, and what have you. And it became something that I found intriguing. I went as far as I became so interested. And meanwhile, on the side, business was steady. I'm not going to say I was making $1 million, but I was making enough to just, feed the family, but also set a little bit aside for knowing that I had to build. So I started discovering these seminars, these internet marketing seminars. Nowadays they're on video, because of the pandemic, and even prior to that, they're selling modules and what have you. But it was still the time. What I'm talking about is maybe 2010 up to 2015. Going to these seminars. I went to quite a few in Georgia. As a matter of fact, I went to one, Widley, 3 or 4 years in a row and paid thousands of dollars. I would tell you, I've invested in excess of maybe $25,000 in 3 years in a row going out to internet marketing seminars. And what happened was this. I would acquire the knowledge, but I wouldn't come back home and execute.
And why do you think the execution part was pretty hard?
That's a great question. The best way I can describe it is, have you ever taken your car to the mechanic? I'm sure you have.
Of course.
Okay. So when you go to the mechanic and you explain to the mechanic, whatever issue you're having from the standpoint of the car owner, the mechanic starts speaking to you in mechanic language. And you're looking at him or her with your head twisted to the side, like, huh? And what I was able to do going to the seminars was I was able to understand the language of marketing and the language of how all this is put together. But just because I understand what the mechanic is saying doesn't mean I know how to fix it.
Now, Sandler, you see a ton of ads right now for seminars and stuff. Would you recommend any attorneys just going there, or would you recommend them learning about digital marketing, going to these seminars, or what would your plan for them, for attorneys looking for digital marketing?
I think one of the words you just stated was plan. If you're an attorney heading out into that space, then go out for informational purposes alone. Don't go out thinking you're going to come back with a book bag full of information that you're going to have any extra time to execute it yourself. Because the truth of the matter is, take it from me, and I tend to be somewhat savvy, and I've been savvier in use of the internet in the past, but I still wasn't built for that. I'm built for what I do. I'm built to serve and help people through my service, and that's what attorneys do best.
I mean, I totally agree with you. I mean, you have, there are people who would love to do multiple things. And would you recommend a lawyer that's going to law school for about 8 years plus, and they haven't even learned about anything about digital marketing? Would you recommend them doing them themselves?
I would say absolutely not, because I think that's an insult to the time and effort they put into being a master of law and a master of counseling the people that need their ability. Because at the same time, picture this, Widley, at the same time, while they're busting their bump and they're sweating and they're figuring out how to navigate the field of law, there's someone on the planet who's doing the same kind of work in the internet marketing space, learning very much like you and what you've done, so why not, like attracts like. Expert should attract expert. But an attorney trying to put an extra hat, we all have the same amount of hours on the clock a day. So how all of a sudden are you going to be a master while you're supposed to not only be serving your clients, but let's be honest, we're supposed to be making money too.
Sandler, that's well said. That's well said. And speaking about, digital marketing, I do know that in this nowadays, how many emails you get a day from digital marketers. Why did you choose Revel to work with you to increase your digital marketing?
I have to say my original reason for choosing Revel is the persistence behind the company. The company was ever present, because like anybody else, I felt like I could do it myself. I thought I would be able to cut out and make out time to do it myself. I figured, okay, I'm floundering now, or I'm doing okay now, but I'll dedicate this entire weekend. And by the time Monday comes around, I'll wow the world with an internet marketing campaign. And by the time Monday morning would come around, I would just be depressed, tired, or too busy from actually doing the work that I was hired to do, instead of trying to figure out how to do the work that I had no business doing. So Revel, like a good song on the radio, I heard and seen it everywhere. I saw Revel everywhere, not only in the office building where Revel has its home base, but also I would start noticing different advertisements placed in the area. And when the time was right, it made sense. I was at my weakest point, which a lot of times is where you have to arrive before you admit that you need help.
All right. I definitely do appreciate that, Sandler. And now, when we started working together, how did you see the changes of digital marketing affect Premier Life Solutions?
In the beginning, what I enjoyed the most was the fact that everything was explained to me in a way that I understood. Because, just because, you have a certain profession that's attached to you doesn't necessarily mean you know everything. So what Revel did was a great job, specifically you. What you did a great job in, and this is what got me here actually today, because I wanted to share my experience because you were able to break it down to me and speak to me without being condescending as to what I need. I came to you, you'll remember, I came to you with a laundry list of things, and this is what I want to do, and this is how I want to take over the world. And you very nicely sat back and listened to me, and then you pressed the reset button and gave me reality.
I mean, a lot of people, they think dominating industry, the internet is,
The internet's the Wild West. Can I say that?
Yeah.
The internet's the Wild West. And you really got to come out with your guns blazing. Or in the Wild West, you got to have a deputy. You got to have, people alongside you on their horses too, ready to gun with you. And I was going out into this space myself. You have the big wigs. You have I'll just say the big Jacoby and Myers, or the this, that's, and the others. The father and son firms that have been around for 50 years, and they have enough marketing dollars to transition from brick and mortar marketing, into the digital space. And here I am, one guy with at the time a staff of 5, trying to figure things out. Because mind you, just because you have this specialty in law or specialty in a given practice, it still doesn't mean you're a great employer. It still doesn't mean you're a great manager. It still doesn't mean you're a great advertiser. So how am I going to add to my basket? And I say this now with humility, looking back. I should have done this much earlier, but I guess I had to learn and I had to fall just so when I got back up, you were right there looking at me.
No, I totally agree with that. And how do you see things moving forward, digital marketing? Like, what are your plans for the future?
I think the most important component is to take the digital marketing person and the representation of it as serious as you take your most valuable staff member, as serious as you take your banker, as serious as you take your financial advisor. This person is going to play a huge role in your success. And the only person that can contribute towards your failure is you, by not having that person on board.
Oh man,
It's true. It's true. Granted, there was a space and time. Let's really look at how this evolved. There was a time where digital marketing persons, just like IT people, your IT person used to be someone that you would call in whenever there was a problem with your server in your office. But then it became obvious that this technology was not only not going anywhere, but it was advancing. So it went from you calling in someone once a week, or who came to, back up your servers every once and again, to you having to hire that person and give them a prominent position on staff. Because without that person, you can imagine where your office would be. So just put the digital marketing component in that place. Because without that person, who's going to know who you are?
Yeah, I agree with that.
It's true. Because word of mouth will never die. But now word of mouth only exists because of great service. And that's always been the case. And the way people are finding and discovering and giving a shot to great service, especially small businesses like mine, is by putting themselves in the right position. And great digital marketing positions you properly.
Now, one final thing, Sandler. What is a tip that you would give to attorneys looking to either jump into digital marketing, or they're not really happy with what they have right now?
To be honest with yourself, the website that you or your child or your intern put together probably worked up until now, because everything happens for a reason. So if you're listening to this, something is happening in your office, and something's happening in your career that needs change. So be honest with yourself. When you go out to research, and of course, being an intellectual, you're going to do your research, but sometimes you need to put your intellect to the side and let your spirit be your guide when you're making that decision to move forward. Because just like you made the move of faith to get into this field of law, not knowing what you were going to do or how successful you're going to be, you have to make a move of faith and hire someone and incorporate them in this process for you to prosper.
Sandler, I would love to thank you for joining me today with the wise words. I'm flabbergasted right now with what you said.
The pleasure's all mine. This is awesome. This is a great experience. I really count on, the next couple of years being greater because the field is becoming even more competitive. And because there are more and more people in our field, in my specific field, that are, there's a new lawyer busting out of our law school every year now. And some of them are not going, the majority of them, let me correct myself, aren't going to the major practices. They're starting their own. So it's the field is becoming more, much more dense. So it's important that I be able to stand out.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me for this episode. Where can people find you?
Great question. Thank you for having me. First of all, you can find Premier at Premier Life Solutions on Google. Just simply Google Premier Life Solutions, and you'll see some great information there. You can search us on YouTube under Premier Life Solutions. You can also seek me out online by way of our website. I think I mentioned PremierLifeSolutions.com. And or you can give a call, 718-360-2271. I'd be more than happy to speak to you.
All right. Thank you so much, Sandler.
My pleasure. Take care.
The internet is the first place new clients go to educate about choosing their competent law firms to serve their individual need. Revel Digital Agency is a small but dedicated team of digital experts that would love to help you and your firm reach its full potential by helping you amplify your web presence. If you're looking to work with our agency, go to revelagency.com, which is REVELAGENCY.com, and book a call. Just 15 minutes, and you'll be glad you did. Make sure you tune in for the next episode dedicated to helping lawyers and law firms thrive in the online space. Once again, my name is Widley Vil. Thank you for choosing to listening to our podcast, and I'll leave you with this. Show the world how important proper legal representation is.